What's up guys, this is Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, let's talk about the second banner from School Festival. That's right, we got information about the new Bertrand, Valdor and Bokhon. And they did more buffs in this banner than the other, I don't know why. But here on Reddit, thanks hands for a treat once more for the amazing post. We have all the information compared to JP. Bertrand is now a mixed damage dealer for counter strategies. The Global X version of Bertrand is focused on doing cold and heat damage. This one is mixed on doing always shadow damage and then either heat or cold depending on the attack. So although they clash on the design, this Bertrand will combo much better with Saruin, for example. They buffed his endurance to reach 91%, will is 95, good enough, and his intelligence is now 122. That's the highest value we have right now in the game. Agility is not that high, but he's more of a counter, it does not affect anything. And he does have some charisma because he can self-heal as well. He has very poor STR and dexterity, so it's not good to inherit anything with swords. But he is kind of forgetting about it anyway. Now, for passives, the first one is huge. He starts the fight with 13 BP. And then he nullifies all sorts of sun damage. Then, when he receives a direct attack, damage taken will be reduced. And then he has a 50% chance to counter with Dominant Blaze. This is a double S power attack with 54 mod. That's pretty close to triple S already. That recovers HP by at least 1.4 thousand. That's right, damage and self-healing. But the biggest difference is that Global X, you just counter every single direct attack and self-buffs when attacked, while this version has only 50% chance to counter, but it's a stronger attack. Global X counters with a column attack, while this one counters with a single target attack. And Dominant Blaze is both heat and shadow. That's different than Global X, that is heat and cold. And after that, he also has other things. He has a 50% chance to activate skill number 1 when he is attacking, not countering. Then we'll talk more about that later. Heat attack will grant him an attack boost that increases damage by 15%, lasts for 3 turns, and can stack. Then also recovers HP. Cold attacks gives him a defense boost of 15%, decreasing damage, lasts for 3 turns, and stacks, and will recover 1 BP. Shadow attacks will buff all of his status by 15%. So he has action switch inside a skill that has way too many different effects. And it's not just a normal action switch, because this one has 3 different triggers. So he can trigger it all in a single skill, and I'll talk more about it later. The second part, he grants himself a heat up that increases damage by 20% for the whole fight and triggers 5 times. That means that on turn 5 he has 100% damage increase. By the end of a turn he also recovers 2 BP. And he also has intrinsic sword that decreases damage taken by 40% when resisting, also has 37% chance to evade resist attacks and 20% increase in damage. That means that he can achieve 120% at least, and with attack boost of 15%, he can at least reach 60% depending on the situations, but the more he counters, he gets more and more and more. So, well, this character can pack some good damage, much similar to the Global X version, but in a different way. The Global X version relies more on getting the intelligence buffs, then after that he scales attack boost as well. And he will become very defensive with lots of defense boosts too. Then moving for skills, the first one is free skill, cold and heat damage that will recover HP by around 230s right now in the game. This is the skill that he has a chance to chase when attacking. So this will recover a little more, since he already recovers when he's attacking with heat attacks. So very good for defense build. Second one is a full AoE attack with C power that deals cold and shadow damage that will recover the HP of all surviving allies by around 230s, and it even has a 10% chance to recover the HP of everyone by around 1000. That's right, 10% to become Steel Blade Light. But it's not reliable, and this skill is not even the main factor in this kit anyway. Then the third one, we have 13 BP for a single target attack with double S power. It has 48 mod and starts with cold and shadow damage. Before you attack, he will grant himself a morale up extreme that increases damage by 50%. That means that this attack will feel like a triple S power attack, and then he will attack. Follow up as well with a skill called Flamanix that has S power and will feel like a double S power attack. This time it's heat and cold and has a chance to debuff intelligence of the enemy by up to 15% on max level. So now we need to understand his rotation, right? You open the fight and you're gonna use the skill number 3, right? This skill number 3 has 2 attacks. It will trigger Shadow offensive status, defensive status. And then he will trigger at least once the heat part that will give attack boost and recover HP, and then a cold part that gives him a defense boost and also recovers 1 BP. So by the end of a turn, he will also recover 2 BP, right? And you actually want 13. He can actually cycle after using this skill, skill number 1, and he may have a chance of following up, remember? So 2 hits already have 50% chance to chase with skill number 1. And again, the second turn, when you are attacking, you have another chance. So he usually have a perfect cycle of using skill 3, skill 1, skill 3, skill 1. And damage is good enough because when you look on this, remember Robin Joe? She had that attack that hits 2 times with triple S power, but it's weak triple S power. She gets paralyzed after that to balance the character. You see similar damage with this skill. Very similar to that amount of Joe. Joe still deals a little more, but it's not very far. And he does not get paralyzed. He was made to be on fights where he stacks a lot of different status and buffs, and he can counter and get stronger and self-heal to become self-sustainable. You can even use him forgetting about the counter mechanics. You don't even need this to make him a strong shadow damage dealer. And he is much easier to use than a Princess Ray, because he's coming from the future. This banner should not be releasing right now. So if you didn't decide about pulling for Ray, don't pull. Bertrand is a much better character. So this character works even if you already have Global Axe Bertrand, because it adds shadow damage and he can be paired up with Saruin. With Saruin he will recover even more BP, will become even stronger, and even when you plan on bringing them for farming, let's say there's a boss in an event that has tons of HP, you bring Saruin for immortality and you bring this Bertrand for skill number 3. Damage will be insane, and you will probably be able to kill the boss with just those 2 characters. And we don't have that many shadow damage dealers besides Saruin with very high potential, so this kind of makes sense. This character will receive a triple S grade. He is not much better than the Global X version, because the Global X version has a guarantee to counter, and depending on the situations, the number of the enemy attacks will allow Global X version to scale better. But this one is very similar, but it governs different elements, so they are very good and kind of a side grade to each other. Moving on, we have Valdor. And this guy here is usually a martial arts, but now is using great swords. So 121 STR and 106% agility. And this makes sense, even though he was designed for hard challenge. His endurance is 86, that's not bad. Will 91, that's not bad as well. Love and charisma don't matter too much, and he even has some intelligence by, well, inheriting skills that can debuff, but he should not be using those. For starts, and he starts with 12 BP, and then on odd turns, that means 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, he will grant himself this first attack poster that will make all of his skills fast. That's right, all of his skills that he uses will become fast. And then when the attack lands, he recovers 1 BP. and will grant this defense boost medium effect that lasts for 1 turn to all surviving allies. I am unsure about this defense boost via passive because from Minstrel has a different value, but it's not when attacking, and I haven't seen another character with such a thing. If it's just like global when using action skills, it will be 25% decrease in damage. If I'm mistaken, please see here on the comment section, and I'll investigate before I make the full review to be sure of what I'm saying. But if it is 25%, it's pretty nice, and he can actually keep this up because of how he works. Then the second one, on JP, he had an inferior version of Scrum Guard. Now he has Scrum Guard that decreases damage taken for all allies when all allies are still alive, and will also increases damage for everyone in the party by 10%. So it's very nice to have this. They moved some of the other effects like this 2BP on start to the top, and then made this offensive and defensive too. Something that we are seeing on other characters like, for example, Christoph has this as well. The third one, when being attacked, damage will be reduced by 30%, and by the end of a turn he will also recover HP by very small. So, at least 1 damage reduction passive, and can actually heal a little to help out, not die easily. Skill number 1 is a 0 BP slash and blunt attack that doesn't have anything else, it's just a free attack to not use the normal attack. Since he was a martial artist, he likes blunt attack, he can inherit martial arts skills, that's why they allowed him to use it. And then the second skill is 8 BP, it has C power and can attack between 2 to 4 times. This is an evolution of this type of skill because in the past they had between D and sometimes E power. Now this one has C power. With great swords, it's even easier to scale than martial arts. But you should not even be using this skill as well, because his main gameplay is all about skill number 3. That has a 10 BP cost, and will do slash and blunt damage. And it's fast as well. And when he attacks, he will grant this buff that is called BP reduction, that will decrease 2 BP cost for all other characters. This lasts for 2 turns, and it's stackable. It's hard to stack, but lasts for 2 turns. That's very impressive, and will grant himself a guard up medium, decreasing damage taken by 25%, lasts for 3 turns. The bad thing about guard up medium is that it can clash. For example, if you are using him with Gustave, well, he also casts guard up, and you have only 1 effect. But here, we have something very interesting. For example, when you're using this together with characters like Bertrand, that has access to Blooming Fireworks, GLEX, Rouge as well, or maybe even Socho. Socho works well because Socho has delay. And Noel's daughter with her Water Festival. Characters that give BP. He's fast, he goes first. If you decrease the cost of someone else, they already give BP to the party. And if he can use that skill again, let's say on turn 2, just because of this gimmick, you're going to give lots of BP to your party. Especially if you are using, for example, Blooming Fireworks in a Saruin squad with GLEX Rouge. That every time he changes, he gets 2 BP. So you can keep giving BP to the party and use characters that have problems with BP cost. For example, the latest version of Liz that has a very good skill that costs 10 BP but decreases damage taken by 50%. You will be able to keep using this more than usual. Or, like I said, Water Festival that gives defense boost and you'll be able to keep stacking. Or that Christmas attack from Empress that also applies defense boost. See, you'll be able to stack some more effects or use high cost skills, much like what you do with Socho. But you can even pair those two for some insane results and bring only 1 damage dealer, like for example Mirza with Left Fork. You're just gonna keep using that forever and do insane amounts of damage. You don't need a secondary damage dealer when you have that. And, well, it's very interesting because this character is not just that. It's not just a BP generator like Socho, for example. Socho is also a counter-attacker, but then we don't even care too much about that. If you bring Valdor, you're already bringing him because of Scrum Guard. And he will also apply the defense boost to your party. That, if I'm not mistaken, it will reduce damage by another 25%. So this is already what we were using with Global X Impress with Inheritance of the Shield. Then we got Barbara that has minus 25 and minus 25. Then we got Gustave that has 3 layers of defense. That it's actually very good, but he has to wait till turn 3 to reach max potential. We got a new version of Impress that has 3 layers of defense. We have Undine, for example. Those are the best ones to bring when we need to decrease damage taken, right? But he has 2 layers of defense while offering something else. And because I said that he has this fast stance, he can actually start the fight using skill 1. Let me explain. Because skill 1 will become fast. That will guarantee that defense boost will be applied before any enemy attack. Skill 3 is already fast. He does not need this attack booster. Then he will use it on the second turn. Then he will use skill 1, skill 3, and that's it. If you are using him with other BP batteries, he will get help because he actually only gets 4 BP per turn. Remember, when he attacks, he gets 1. That means 4. He starts with 12, so he starts a little faster. By turn 2, you have 16. That means that even if you just keep cycling skill 1, skill 3, skill 1, skill 3, you could eventually run out of BP and have to skip 1 turn. But, well, if you are using him with someone else that gives BP, this will never happen. So I really find this interesting because this character can bring sustain and offer something else. Increase the utility of characters that have high cost BP or make damage dealers be able to use nuke attacks more often, especially Mirza and Saruin. And they are very popular now because they even got buffed for global. In Valdor, we receive a triple S grade in the tier list, just like Undine and the newest Final Impress. Offers 2 defensive supports and can even pack some other utility by giving BP generation. Now moving to the next one, we have Bokhon, and they buffed his endurance and will because he wants to stay alive in boss fights. Makes sense. They could have buffed his STR a little further, but well, it's okay. He still has some intelligence to inherit the buff attacks from his previous styles. Agility is not good, but he does not need it anyway, unless he's debuffing. Well, I think I'm going to start talking about the skills first. He has a 10 BP 4S attack that is just blunt damage, but he has delay. So, recently we got some changes in global, like Matriarch Round Slicer being 4S damage without delay. In JP is 12, here on global is 10. So, didn't need to keep the delay part, but I think that this character has so many RNG values that they wanted to keep the design intact. And, well, this is very strong for 10 BP, right? Then the second one is a C power attack with 7 BP cost that has blunt and slash. This is used for farming. And then skill number 1 is a C power attack that has a chance to debuff will by 15% when the attack lands. This is when you don't have BP to use anything else and you just want to not use normal attack. He also has other options via inheritance, but that's good enough. He can debuff STR if you want. Then let's talk about the passives. When skill number 3 lands, he has a 50% chance to grant himself this blunt attack boost that will increase his damage potential by 50%. That's right, that's the same amount of Saruin's. Besides the damage increase, he still has a 50% chance to recover BP by 7, and a 50% chance to also recover his HP by around 1.5 thousand. So, anything can happen. You can trigger all 3 effects, none, just 1 or 2. This is all related to skill number 3. So you want to use this as much as possible. When you recover 7, you just got a guarantee of using that skill again. It's 50% chance. Well, if you are lucky enough, you're gonna get another chance of triggering the blunt attack boost and keep using it till he reaches max potential. This is very useful for remembrance and can also be used on other content, but relies on RNG. By the end of a turn, he also has 25% chance to recover BP by 10. That's right. So on average, you could say that he recovers 2.5 BP per turn if you consider the RNG. When being attacked, damage will be reduced by 25%, and on the start of turn, he grants himself a heat up of medium effect. That increases damage for the whole fight by 10% and stacks 5 times per battle. Well, only 10%. We have other versions that increases more, but well, you will always try to use skill number 3, but the problem is that he does not have any guarantee way to get more BP. He relies on RNG, so sometimes you may prefer to just use a normal attack instead of using skill 1. So, well, the guy can get super strong, but it's super RNG reliable, and he can be the only damage dealer you need for Club Remembrance, because you don't need to clear a bit more than once. You can just bring him, see if he hits the RNG spot. If he does, he's gonna help you a lot when dealing with content where you need damage. And if he doesn't, just retry, and he will be able to help you eventually. He will receive an SS Plus grade in the tier list because of the RNG mechanic. Could have been better, but you can still take full advantage if you have patience. So, in the end, this banner is actually good. Yes, indeed. I will be giving it a Silver Plus award because we have two very good characters here, Bertrand and Valdor. In the case of Buney's banner, we have both Buney and Vagrant as good options. Although Kaczynski is really unnecessary, Bokhon is a better investment. That's why I'm giving this banner a better award. If you already have Global X Bertrand, you do not need this by the word need. You can just run Global X Bertrand. Even if he is resisted, he can still do a lot of damage depending on the challenge. But I think that Valdor carries some interesting design. If you miss it out on Socho, now is a good time to have a BP battery. He can still work together with Socho, but sometimes they will be fighting for the same slot. In my opinion, I can decide when I want one or the other, or even both. Then Bokhon is a good investment for people that don't have a real damage dealer for clubs because they barely exist. Hence why this banner is actually good to pull if you have the chance. I think that if you are a new player, Buney banner is a little better because we don't get many buffers now. Since we got many, we'll probably only have then with Razan and then on December. And Vagrant allows any squad to be a healer. But if you are a veteran and you don't mind too much about healing and you already have way too many buffers, summoning on this banner seems to be more interesting for most, but it still depends on your box. I'll be making a full review for both banners later, so stay tuned to the channel. But this is all just my opinion. What is yours? Please see here in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope to see you soon in the next one. Bye.